Okay, so first of all, thank you for coming. This is fantastic. I am very sincere when I say this. I have had an incredible time here this year. I am so grateful to know all of you. And this means a lot, taking time out of your Friday nights. Okay, so the title of the show is Colors of Mind. It comes from a quote from Basho. I don't know if that's a familiar name. Some people in the audience may have heard of Basho. He's new. He's from like the 1600s. He's just now getting the fame he deserves. But he had a quote that said, when a poet who has always been assiduous in pursuit of his aim applies himself to an external object, the color of his mind naturally becomes a poem. And a lot of he and other haiku artists of the time spent a lot of their time sort of cultivating their minds so that the very simple product they put out sort of reflected that. I'm going to read through this, but I will tell you I am long-winded, and this was cut down from about 35 minutes of speech. So this might seem like a collage because there's a lot of cutting and pasting that went on last year. All right, so the work that's on the walls today, in addition to a few additional canvases I'm going to be hanging throughout April, assuming I continue to work, and I'm sure I will, are colored by my experience at Harvard. And that's really the only thesis I'm willing to fully commit to, that my sort of obsessive compulsion has been influenced by my studies here. Topics in this set of paintings include psychology, morality, gender and identity, language, semiotics, cognitive neuroscience, and perhaps more than anything else, concepts of context and complex causality. That is, the idea that there is no thing outside of its immediate context, which includes a complex history of interaction, associations which make up one's traveling context, part of it which could be referred to simply as mindset. Can you pass me that book right there? I'm realizing that I'm going to start to get into complicated things too quickly, so I'm going to read a poem instead. Okay. This poem is called Physiognomy. Definition: the art of discovering temperament and character from outward appearance. Smile lines, baggy eyes. Woman of my dreams, I sleep late, trying to find her. Remember the days we were sugared up and desperate to know what we'd look like in the future? Surprise, I'm mad with happiness, she said, working a tongue over the penny to taste its good fortune. I grind my teeth in my sleep. The whole thing rank with little moments of certainty. That's not fair, she said. I said nothing. She left for good. I went out back to mow grass in rows, watched it catch light in one direction, then another. We should be so lucky. All right, back into this. So essentially, everything is colored by its complex history. Many of these, especially these canvases, have been through literally dozens of stages, and if you get up close, you can see their history sort of peeking through. In those cases, the surface level mundane, like a few on this wall, like a still life with flowers, a row of houses, a self-portrait, become to me something far more interesting. They peel back the masks of elegance, rather never fully pull the mask down, and introduce the viewer to the depth of their making. A house is not just a house. Its story is long and complicated. The story of Brian, for example, whose father runs a successful tailoring business in Alston, but has always preferred to be out in the world working with his hands, and lays the brick around the garden on Windsor with brutal accuracy and speed, who knows Taylor, the gardener from high school. They play lacrosse together. His story, as he finishes his work in uncharacteristically warm October afternoon, is part of that house's story. So instead of narrating the full history of these events, these paintings allude to the depth of a few of the seemingly simple things in our lives, specifically mine in Cambridge, in previous artistic movements, and ask the viewer to take a moment to consider the many moments that lead into these current, rich, and complex images. I hope that did not sound like a boast. Thank you. I would also ask that we do this more in our lives. We need to look, listen, and think. I'm convinced the only way to be wrong in this world is to be absolutely certain. At worst, Those absolutes, those certainties, promote terror and violence and hate based on the arrogant assumption that there is a clear and singular right and that they are on the side of it. And no external context or perspective is valid. At best, it's benign. But for many of us, it is easy to imagine moments where it was minimally a conversation killer, the idea of these absolutes. The position and argument of one who believes he is absolutely 100% correct anchors a perspective in melodrama rather than fact. Good conversations include emotion, but they are not made of it. Example, this is something that sort of came to me and happened in my life. You never turn the lights off, if that's a claim. You never turn the lights off. Issue one is it's an absolute. If the position is that someone never turns the lights off, but once they did, only once, then you've painted yourself into error. And isn't it possible, obvious even, the speaker who only notices the lights were on, that the speaker will only notice lights that were left on, not taking into account hundreds of dark rooms they've entered without realizing the supposed perpetrator was there minutes before, and in order to save on the electric bill and appease his spouse, shut them off? There again, I ask us to slow down, to take a little longer in our looking, to acknowledge that that will mean more work at first, but we get better at it, and it will be worth it. The next thing is complicated, so I'll read another poem to break it up. It's called Above the City in a Rain Cloud. Baby, it's not that I'm sick of your face. I just wonder who will carry the dark cape behind you. In my home, I have left the heat on. I was away and you were not topless in the window, strangler face slowly creeping up the stucco. I love the taste of my blood under your fingernails. I've no right to sleep tonight, you said, taking off my raincoat. I don't poke holes for sake of holy pardon, since partway between turning the wand of the blinds and threading my eyebrows with your teeth, I stopped seeing, couldn't taste, and in the last lime tree, at least one bloom looked like a bird. Okay, not long ago I came across two things I thought were pretty interesting. I'm going to explain them both. First, with the portrait of Sakato Hangoro. I'm going to apologize in advance if I get these pronunciations wrong. It was a portrait of Sakato Hangoro as Fujikawa Mitsuema, painting by Toshusai Haraku. I don't know if anyone knows if I got that right or not, but you get the idea. Essentially, it was a portrait of an artist by an artist, a portrait by an artist of an artist posing as someone else. I was intrigued less by the aesthetics of the work than the idea, the distancing. The viewer sees, the posing is yes, the distancing. The viewer sees a painting of Fujikawa, sees Fujikawa, when in reality, a writer had an idea, created a character, gave the script to Sakata, who tried his best to embody this invented self, posed, however briefly, for Toshusai, the painter, who used ancient pigments to represent the image of someone representing an idea. I don't know if that makes sense, so I'll kind of say it again. This was then photographed, edited, and printed in a book where I found it. Essentially, by the time that idea, the character, had been through the filter of the writer, actor, painter, photographer, and now, or at that point, me, there's an added distance and depth somehow to that idea. There's these layers upon layers upon layers, which always bring me back to collage. Essentially, collage being these new associations created from existing images. In the small version over here on the wall, the Chinese symbol for eyes is written over the mouth, and the symbol for mouth over each eye. An allusion to taking a close look at what we say. A trained eye would also notice that these Chinese characters have found their way into a Japanese painting. My assumption is that those unfamiliar with character-based languages might never notice. I try these sleights of hand often, as with a small collage on that wall, I believe, with the baseball player Bob Uecker, a notoriously average player who, in his baseball card, is posing lefty, even though he batted righty, just because he knew he was kind of insignificant enough for the photographer to notice. The larger version of this idea So the same day I found the Cicada portrait, I came across what's called a Piltdown man. I don't know if that's a familiar concept, but essentially a man in England found a human skull, attached an orangutan jawbone to it, and tried to pass it off as a missing link. It was a sort of collage, is kind of what occurred to me. This guy was collaging bones, skulls, semi-morbid. Anyway, I drew it as realistically as I could from a picture of it, then took a picture of the drawing and had it enlarged into that canvas. So if you're keeping track, someone collaged skulls, someone else took a mold of that skull, then a picture, then it was edited, printed in a book, then I drew it and took a picture, and someone else turned that into a canvas. Already a Wittgensteinian ode is sort of taking place, but I won't go fully down that road for people who are familiar with Wittgenstein, because now is where the two ideas kind of intersect. Normally a collage element, a drawing cut out from a magazine or whatever, is glued onto a surface. And when I collage and it's on the walls, there will be a surface, there'll be the collage element, and the painting will kind of try to take the collage element back. In this case, however, the thing I would have glued down, the drawing of the Piltdown man, is the thing I'm now gluing on. I'm inverting and complicating that relationship kind of as much as I can. The paint is now the intruder on that canvas. The paint is the collage element. So when Portrait of Cicada and the Piltdown man met, they went through the strange and complex colors of my mind to become whatever that painting is. Hopefully something distinct from whatever it was previously. I'm actually going to read that poem I wrote about that as well. Self-portrait, so self-portrait, that's Cicada Monroe. A weave of art, parody, and fashionable traditions of thievery, the artist steals away into imagined selves. Fingers between the tiger's lips and teeth to puppet speech. The ancient craft is not confined to lavish floral sleeves. I've been reckless. I have so many minds that need washing. They've been dragged through my dreams, said Cicada, whose language, built in symbols, sizzled under hot, fussing stage lights. And most nights, he stands alone in the snow when buses aren't running. Branches choked by whispers like plum blossoms, where I can't find my image, I create it. Sweating inside of love like a mouth, forcing this beast to speak. I kind of was also picturing in this complex layering how one could be, it calls back to the Mask video that we watched the other night, how one could be kind of in front of the world, in the world, and still somehow very hidden through those layers. You good, Nick?
Good, thanks.
Thanks for coming out. I was talking to Tiffany the other day about like where art could possibly go from its current state. Kind of thinking that everything's been done. I would imagine also that at the beginning of every new movement, people have sort of had that restlessness. It's all been done. Anyway, we had enough drinks at the time to make us feel like we were really on to something. And I think we might have been, because I've been thinking about it a lot since. I think what we're doing is we're heading backwards, if only for a moment, in order to move forward, to go beyond the current movement, whatever we're in right now. I think we have to unbraid the prior ones, break down art into its minimum viable product. That's hard to do, and it's kind of unsexy to say, but we have to, in a sense, tear down the house we've been building. To many, that seems cumbersome, and so I've heard some people have told me kind of negative, but for me, it's like the epitome of optimism. When we tear things down, we break things down to minimum viable product, and we stand, as long as we're motivated, and as long as our mind has been colored correctly in the rubble of our own making, what we build from there can be anything. Where we go can be anywhere. Anyway, like I said, I put a lot out of this, and I don't want to sound too preachy. And I'd be happy to entertain individual conversations about the work if you're interested. But I do want to say this while we've got everyone's attention. I don't want to take the fun and ease out of painting and the arts, and that's not what this explanation is intending to do. I just want to acknowledge that the ease the elegant brush strokes, maybe not in my work, but in the prose, elegant brush strokes and really well found compositions that you see in museums. Those were actually really, they were hard-earned. They were repeated, those strategies, many, many times. They were really worked at in order to arrive at that grace. And it's very rare to find elegance that wasn't somehow achieved through practice. So my advice is this to everyone, if you'll take it. Color your minds well. If you're willing to do that, to follow Basho in that assiduous pursuit, then develop a bias toward action, I think we're capable of massive things. I think it's also important to remember that a mind colored by hate will produce hateful things. A mind colored exclusively by critique will paint the world with cynicism. But a mind colored by inquiry, empathy, hope, and the desire to do good in the world is a fantastic opportunity to accomplish exactly that. My work, our work, is just beginning, and that's about as excited as I could possibly be. I'm very excited. Anyway, okay, so that's that. Don't applaud or anything. Just go. Stop it. I would encourage you to take another walk around and see if you can maybe find something that you didn't see initially. I'll entertain questions probably individually. If anyone's on social media, at Jim Davis Art. So here's one thing. I thought about putting out books for this. Give me one more second. I thought about putting out books for this. But what I thought would be easier is if people started to invent their own narratives. At least I'm really interested. If you look at something that looks complex and abstract, I'm interested to hear what you think it's about, or even just like whatever idea it conjures in you, for you to chase that would be really interesting to me. And the plan is to actually make a full-size book out of this chapbook using your input to get that thing going. At Jim Davis Art, the hashtag is Colors of Mind. That's a thing still, right? And that's all I've got. So thanks for being here. Please stand out for